Everybody, welcome back to the witching half hour or so. How have you been? How was that eclipse for you? I'm actually recording this a couple days before the eclipse, so I am really feeling that powerful energy. Yeah. But that is not what today's episode is about. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the element of air. This is the third one in my series on the elements. Do I have any housekeeping for you? Let me see. The Patreon is live. So if you are really enjoying my content and you are in a place where you can contribute financially to the podcast, I would appreciate that. My books are currently open to new clients. Information about that is on my website, www.jodiannepsychicmedium.com. What else am I doing? And I also have my monthly love letter. That's right. Every month I send out a love letter to you. It is a high consent, low volume newsletter. So you're only going to be hearing from me once a month unless I specifically ask for your consent to send you more emails, which you can always opt out of while staying on the love letter email list. Okay, so let's dive in. We're talking about air. And it's funny because I was sitting with one of my best girlfriends and I was talking about this episode, and I've been procrastinating on recording it. I was spinning my wheels, kind of panicking about this episode and what I was going to put in it and how it was going to come out, because I kind of feel like air is my weakest of the elements. Like I'm fiery, I'm in Aries, and I have a lot of fire in my chart. And the healing work I've been doing over the past bunch of years is so watery. We know this, right? I really feel an affinity to water right now. I spend a lot of time in the water and on the water, and you know that. Anyway, so I was in this like little self-doubt storm, and I was talking with my sister witch, and she basically laughed at my silliness. And she pointed out how the air element is such a part of my life. So I'm a writer. I fill journal after journal, and I process my emotions through writing. Writing is connected to the air element. I sing when I do ritual. She knows this. We do ritual together. I love singing in ritual. I love singing in sweat lodge. I love bringing song to any aspect of ritual that I can. I even used to go to a circle called Women's Heart Song, where it was like a women's choir and we all got together and sang. And it was like a huge part of my healing and defining who I am in my late 30s. And now here I am, and I have a podcast. I am actually sending out sound waves through the air and beaming them into your little earbuds. So like, my girl laughed at me. My sister witch just laughed at me, and she was like, of course you're fine with air. And it really kind of brought it home for me, and it made me realize that one of the reasons I can't recognize my affinity for air is because I am so airy that I can't even see it, kind of like not seeing the forest for the trees. And the reason I'm telling you this is because we're deep diving through these elements and we're going through them all. And my purpose for this is for you to learn more and deepen your understanding. I want to invite you to examine your relationship with each of these elements. It's possible that you are like me and that one of them comes so naturally to you that you can't even see the way it works through your life. And you know what else was interesting? I was recently editing episode 34 where I talked to Paisley Town, and in my numerology I have a lot of air as well, so I found that really funny. So let's start with astrology, okay? There are 3 astrological signs that correspond to the element of air, in no particular order than the one I can remember them. They are Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. Now, I invite you to go look those up. I am not great at astrology, and my opinions of them are biased by the people I love in my life who hold those signs. What I can tell you about Libras is that they are all about balance and fairness, and they really resonate with the true justice of things. They are often upset in unjust situations, and they look at things from a very broad view, and their moral compass is very, very much apparent in the way they live their life. Geminis are the twins of the astrology, and they tend to have a duality to their thinking. They tend to flip between different ideas and different extremes, and it can take Gemini people a little bit of time to figure out where they stand in the world and what their truth in the world is. And they are exceptionally creative people, and their creativity stems from the air element, so their creativity is all about problem solving, thinking outside of the box, tearing down systems that are what they would consider stupid and building something better. Okay, and Aquarius, a lot of people think Aquarius is a water sign, but it's actually an air sign. And it is all about deep thinking. All of the Aquarians I know are incredibly introspective people. They don't always offer their advice, but when they do, they are someone to listen to. So that's all I know about the signs. I'm not an astrologer. Feel free to disagree with me. They're very, very biased by the people I love in my life. So it's strangely difficult to find goddesses that are associated with air, because air is traditionally considered a masculine element. I think this is because I don't even know why this is. And honestly, I don't really understand why or how these elements got their gendered identities. The only one that really makes sense to me is water, because of the way we birth children through water and the way that women produce milk through lactation. All the other gender identities, if you want to call them that, of the elements don't make a lot of sense to me. So for whatever reason, air is labeled masculine. I just want to unpack this idea of gender and energy around the different elements. So I want to acknowledge that a lot of our esoteric teachings and a lot of our esoteric ideas are from a very, very, very long time ago, right? We're talking the Kabbalistic scriptures. We're looking back into like BC time, right? Like before Christ time, however we call that, because we're talking about like the Roman Empire. We're talking about the Egyptian Empire. We're talking about all these different ideas. So when I'm talking about gender in relationship to the elements, I'm talking about the energetic expression and how they are associated with traditional gendered roles. I personally believe it's energy, and it can be wielded by anyone. I think that our souls and our spirits go way beyond any arguments that are happening in the zeitgeist about gender. And if it's helpful to you, you can think about it in the same way that romantic languages like French and Spanish label pens and tables as gender. It's really not to prohibit one sex from using a pencil. We can all use these tools regardless of their labeled vibration. Okay? Okay. The divine energy that I found that was most associated with the element of air comes from the Greek-Roman pantheon, and that is Hermes or Mercury. So this is the divine messenger. Hermes is this great little guy with like little wings on his feet. And honestly, like I cross-reference in my brain, the Greek and the Roman gods and goddesses are like smooshed in their identities inside my brain. So I apologize for that. In the show notes, I will be much better and I will differentiate Hermes and Mercury. But off the top of my head, which is how I do these podcasts, they're smooshed in my head. And they are the divine messenger of Zeus and a little bit of a trickster energy behind them. They're obviously associated with air because of the winged messenger kind of idea. One of the main goddesses that comes up when you're looking for goddesses of air is Athena. This could be because she wears the masculine role of warrior goddess. She is skilled with swords. She is skilled with a bow. Bows are associated with air. I believe she also has an owl, or there's an owl associated with her as well. One of the goddesses that I associate with air, and I don't know if this is just me, so I stand in humble correction if I am totally off base, but I have always associated the Egyptian goddess Mat with air. My reasoning behind this is that she is responsible, one of her rules anyway, is to weigh your heart against a feather in the afterlife in the Egyptian lore. So again, wings and feathers are associated with air, and the idea of justice is associated with air. So to me, Mat is associated with air. The idea of justice being associated with air. So that would probably put the Greek goddess Justice in the air realm too. That makes sense, right? Anyway, the reason that we consider justice to be an air idea is because air energy follows logic. It's all about being in your mind. Air is the element of the human mind. It is the element not of our creative inspiration like water. It is the element of the spark behind Einstein or the madness of Nikola Tesla. It's that ability to think outside the box, to open your mind and upwards. And that's why it's associated with the crown chakra. Because as we ascend, we are ascending into those airy, high vibrational vibes. And that is associated with logic. So your very logical thinking is air thinking. One of the challenges of air and very air people is to connect that logic and that high reasoning with our heart. And that's where that whole saying of the longest distance in the human body is between the heart and the mind. Because if we are too in our air, we can't get to the heart. And the best expression of justice and the best expression of truth is the truth that is connected to our heart. And being in that space of divine knowing and spiritual thought processing and really airy, high thinking, enlightened thinking, if you will, that is connected to our human compassion and our heart is such a beautiful and divine energy to be in. So staying with that, the last goddess that I want to bring forward when we're talking about the air energy is one again this is my personal connection, and maybe I'm totally off base, and if I am, please, I welcome you to pop onto the website and send me an email and give me your teaching if you know different. I associate the indigenous figure, I don't know if we call her a goddess, I call her a goddess, white buffalo calf woman with the element of air. For some reason, I believe that she was found in the east with the rising sun, and I don't know if that's true. She feels like inherent knowledge, what I do know is she did bring her people the wisdom of the peace pipe. She's associated with peace pipe ceremonies, and that is an element of air. Anytime smoke rises, that is air element. She is a wise teacher, and she teaches about peace, and she teaches from a open, compassionate, loving heart with great, great wisdom for her people. And to me, that seriously embodies air. And as I'm speaking about her, you guys, I'm like covered in goosebumps. I have been blessed to have been able to work with her. She is one of my most favorite helper friends and guiders. Okay, so, I did mention that I believe she comes from the east. That is because the direction, I don't think I mentioned it yet, the direction of the air element when we're casting our circle is east. It is the direction of the rising sun. It symbolizes newness, fresh air, a fresh look on things, a reawakening of our thoughts and our minds. It blows away the old. The storms that can happen in a person's life when the air element comes to teach them can be very, very sudden. Think about the way a tornado can quickly form and can move very suddenly and unpredictably. Fire, we can usually see where it's going. Water, we have a sense. Air is intangible. So when air comes to teach us, it is often very sudden. And one of the hardest lessons for us to learn as people, because our mind, that element of our own mind, is what we battle most of our life. Okay, so lastly, I do want to touch on the fairy realm. So there are many, many, many fae creatures. Many of us, when we think of fairies, we immediately go to what I would call the wee folk. And these lovely winged helpers or mischief makers, depending on your relationship to them, are definitely of the air element. Now we know this because a lot of them have wings. However, even those without wings, such as sprites, they are still considered of the air element, and part of that is just their high vibration and their frequency. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I included them in this. I'm not going to deep dive, I think, into fairies. Those of you who work with the fae realm, you know what I mean by high vibe and the frequency that they tend to be in. Pretty much anything that is floating through the air, whether it's fairies or birds or the way we use smoke in our practice, are all using the air element. And recently, I wanted to do an airy ritual because we had that beautiful full moon in Libra. I was thinking about how I could do release work with the air element. Because, I do burning ceremonies and I do water ceremonies, but I didn't have like a personal ceremony for air. So I'm going to share this little brainstorm with you because I think it is super fun and it was helpful. I thought it was great. Like, I know we can use smoke and smudge for air, right? Like when we burn our incense and when we burn our traditional herbs, anything we burn or anything we simmer, I know that's air, but to me, we're also using fire to bring the temperature of it up. And I wanted to just do something just air that I didn't have to bring matches to. Do you know what I mean? So I came up with this. I don't think I came up with it. I think I was gifted an idea, probably from the fairy realm that I work with, because it just had a real playful element to it. And the idea is to blow bubbles. One of the ways that we can see air is when we blow bubbles, like miracle bubbles, like we did when we were kids. We can see that they're just air. but we can see them. And often we need something for our like monkey mind, our amazing, beautiful, airy, logical mind to attach things to in order for us to feel like we're doing magic and to really manifest well. So this past full moon, I went outside. I cast some circle inside and I did some writing work and I did things. And then I went outside and I blew bubbles. And I really held what I was letting go of in my mind and then blew it right out through the magic miracle bubble wand out. And it really was fun. It was fun and releasing and all those things. And I think in the end, it'll be quite powerful because anytime we are enlightened and lit up and enjoying our magic, we get better results. And a lot of release work can be like heavy, right? Like we're thinking about what we're letting go and we're thinking about, we're trudging through pain or trauma or fear or whatever it is we're trudging through. Sometimes our release work, like we're basically clawing what no longer sees us out of our gripping tight hands. And the bubbles brought such an element of fun and lightness and beauty to the work. So I offer you that. Give it a try. Let me know how that goes for you because I really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to do it again the next time we have a full moon that is in a air sign, right? Either Libra or Gemini or Aquarius. And I think that's a lovely segue to the idea of sound. So the element of air is sound. Sound is air. I can't separate the two, like the waves of sound that go through the air around us that we hear, that we create when we sing, that we create when we play an instrument. That is when we're working in that element. It's invisible, but so powerful. Sound is one of the ways that we can quickly shift our frequency and quickly shift our energy and really restore ourselves and employ sound for healing. We resonate with song. We resonate with sound. So within your practices at home, just play with it. Like, I don't know if you have like one of the singing bowls or even just music. Sound is an incredibly powerful tool. Think about the way that a soundtrack affects our movies. It's when those stringed instruments kick in that our heart swells and we end up crying in most movies. It's the music in Jaws that puts our hair on the back of our neck and brings our anxiety up and just grips us and puts us at the edge of the seat. Sound is incredibly powerful. It can be used in healing modalities. There are multiple ways that people use sound, whether it's through singing bowls or actual song, sacred singing and sacred song, or light language. I mentioned earlier that I had participated with a women's choir. I don't know if choir is the right word. It was a sacred heart song singing circle. And what I learned there is that people, if we listen, we will automatically create notes that harmonize with the people around us. If you don't worry about what note you make and you sit beside another person or are close to another person and you open your mouth and you just hold a note, the two people will automatically bring their notes into a resonating harmony. Sound is so powerful, and I think of all the elements, it's the one that connects us mostly to each other. And I think that is a nice note to end on, because then I can say how much I appreciate that you connect with me here in our earbud coven together, and how much I appreciate you participating and being a part of this project I have through this medium of sound where I get to spend time with you in your earbuds every moon. So thank you very much, dear Coven member, for joining me today and for being a part of my podcast. And I hope to see you very, very soon. As always, you can find full show notes on the website. It will have researched information about all of the goddesses I have been gods that I mentioned, some info about the astrology that I will pull from books since I am terrible at astrology out of my head. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you soon on another witching half hour or so. She's like so sad because she can't figure out what side to come and get pets from. Okay, just hang on, I gotta pause this. Okay, so I just lost my thought. Oh my god, I totally took a breath in and lost my